Well, welcome back to part 8 of the Bionic Hybrid X210 build instructions. Well, it starts getting exciting now because we're going to start connecting up the NAS32 onto the frame and powering it up from the power distribution board, which you can see here. So we're going to need to solder some wires to this power distribution board before we mount the NAS32 on top. And what we're going to do is we're going to take some a red wire from here, plus 5 volts, and a black wire from negative or ground, and from here also this plus and minus, this is the battery voltage, and this will be used for the VBAT input on the NAS32, so the NAS32 knows what the battery voltage is. And just to make sure that we don't mix up any of these wires, once the NAS32 is on top of here, we're going to use a brown wire for the positive here and a blue wire for the negative. So let's go ahead and get on with that. So the first thing we need to do is prepare some of these wires. So remember, we said the red and black is going to be for the 5 volts and the brown and blue are going to be for the battery voltage, for the VBAT. So no point really seeing this, I'll just fast forward a little bit. So here you see me putting the blue wire on the negative side of the battery voltage. So on the PDB here, they should be just marked negative and positive. And this is what we call VCC, which is the battery voltage. And the brown wire is on the positive side of the battery voltage. Slightly melted the frame there with the soldering iron. And then over to the 5 volts connection. So obviously the black on the negative side, the ground, and red on the positive side. Can't quite see there from my hand. So in fact, when we've done this, we should be able to fit the NAS board on top. It should sit nice and flat. If it's wanting to wobble about, just make sure that all the wires are pushed down, so there's nothing trying to push it upwards. So we should be able to fold these wires now between the power distribution board and the NAS. So that's the positive battery voltage wires. They need to come out to this side underneath and go towards the receiver. And here's the 5 volt lines. So they're going to want to go up and go forward towards the camera. And then once those are in place, we need to put the RX wires up to come out of the left hand side, assuming the model's facing forward. So we should have something like this, make sure that the wires aren't trapped underneath any of the poles. And once we are happy that everything's sat there, nothing's trapped, then we need to get one of the little nylon M3 bolts so we can start to screw that down. A bit blurred there, but you can see it's just a nylon. I think they're about 6mm long bolts. If you put the first one in just sort of finger tight, then that'll keep that flat, make sure no wires go underneath. And then we can start putting the other 3 in. So now we've done that, and it's time to do some soldering. So we need to just cut these wires to length. And remember, these are the VCC wires, which are going to go onto these two pins here. Just a point of reference, normally on the NAS 32, the pin, the solder pad to the extremity of the board, the outside of the board, is usually negative. So, I mean, there are some, not always true, where you've got a set of 3 like that, then the one on the outside is going to be negative. And obviously, if you've got a row like on the left hand side there, where you've got a row of just single pins, then obviously they've got a different setting. But in this case, it's true. So we're just going to solder those onto these 2 pins, with the blue one on the one nearest the edge of the board and the brown one just above it. Just see if we can see that soldering. We just put a little bit of solder on the pad itself before trying to solder to it. Obviously, you may have noticed with close-ups of this shot of these boards that I'm actually using repurposing, so it's an old NAS 32 which had the headers, used to have headers on it, and now they've been cut off. So it's a little bit more difficult, and certainly got to be aware that there are inside those holes bits of loose pins that used to be stuck up through the board, which may, if not done carefully, fall out through the bottom and drop onto the PDB. So I'm taking great care not to do that if I can. And the one thing I'm going to notice here is that this is very tight, and remember, this is battery voltage on here. There's not really much circuit protection here. It's directly to the battery, so it would reveal the magic smoke if that was touching anything else than what it should be touching. So I'm just checking here. Difficult for you to see, but I'm trying to check to make sure that that brown live wire isn't touching any of the negative pins, and it isn't. There's good shielding there, so that's fine. So let's move on to the next bit. So the next part here is to fix in the S-bus signal from the RX. So notice that that's 6 pins up from the left, but it should be marked pin 4 on the board. So you've got negative, positive, and 1, 2, 3, and then pin 4 there is the S-bus connection on the NAS 32 revision 6. So we're gonna now solder those up. Might just cut those back a bit, I think. So we're just soldering these up then. So negative first on the leftmost pin. Then the 5 volts. Sorry, not the 5 volts. Well, it is a 5 volts positive, but it's going actually going over to the RX unit from the NAS 32. We've not powered the NAS 32 yet with 5 volts. And on the pin mark number 4, that's the S-bus coming from the RX. Okay, that's good. So now it's time to put the 5 volts power. So this is the red and black from the PDB power, and we're using the leftmost, the rightmost pin there for that, and that should be marked up number 6 on the board, and it's the one on the outer edge of the black, and then the middle pin will be the 5 volts pin. So that's actually now putting 5 volts onto the NAS 32. To make sure that's a really good connection. All the power, all the 5 volt power there will go from there. It'll feed the receiver and the lost model alarm. So it's essential that in an accident or in a crash that that's a good supply. batteries connected, batteries not fell off, good supply to the Naze 32 to power the lost model alarm. Otherwise the lost model alarm won't work. So okay, that's looking good. The only really thing to do now is a quick test with the multimeter to make sure we've introduced no short circuits, and that's fantastic. We're still about 5 kilo ohm, so no short circuits. So I think we can good to proceed to the next step. So just a quick power up, just to have that feel good feeling, just to see everything lighting up and no smoke. Excellent. Quite pleased with that. So let's wire up the ESCs to the Naze 32. Okay, so as you know, I already wired up my, or marked up my ESC numbers. So that's going to go on number 1. And obviously number 2 to the left of that. Sorry, to the right of that. And left and right is mixed up as I'm sat here. And these are corresponding to the numbers marked on the Naze 32 also. Now notice we're using the outer edge pin for the black wire and the innermost pin for the white wire, because remembering from what we saw previously that this row of middle pins is actually 5 volts. So we want the earth on the outer edge, on the ground, and the signal pin, which is the one to the middle. So just so you see me do at least one joint, black one to the outer. Of course, remembering that, you know, you might speak really good English, but somebody else watching this may not do, so they may want to actually see what I'm doing, so they can work it out for themselves. So we'll just see my attempt, at least, to get this white wire on this very small pin. Excellent, and then we'll fast forward. So I think we just need to do one final continuity test just to make sure that we're not introduced any short circuits in that part. Very difficult mounting, trying to get the camera, the multimeter screen in shot and be able to see what I'm doing, but essentially whenever I'm doing this test, all I'm doing is finding a red and a black point anywhere on the circuit board and testing to see if I've got any short circuit. And excellent, I'm still at 5 kilo ohm, so that looks like it's good to go. So I think that brings us to the end of part 8 of the build instructions. Oh, it's going fast. What's next? Well, the next one will be to look at connecting the Naze 32 to the laptop, downloading CleanFlight, looking at the BL Heli firmware for the ESCs, making sure that that's okay. So the next one's probably software based. Maybe split that into 2, thinking that we, maybe even 3, split it into downloading and finding where all the software is and making sure that works. And then we'll go on to BL Heli and then CleanFlight amps, I think. So if you're enjoying this, please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Get notifications when I upload the next video. So I think that's just a case of saying thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.